Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching this. Welcome. Today, I have got the wonderful Sarah Jones on, and I will bring her on now, and she can say hello to everyone and introduce herself. Sarah, you're live. Please do exactly that. Hello.
Hi, nice to see you. Nice to see everybody, if anyone's joining. Um, Thank you for having me. My name's Sarah Jones. I'm based in the UK and I am a specialist recruiter in the Power Platform and Dynamics BizApp space. I do all the community things as well around Power Platform, including user groups and a podcast.
Yeah, let's start with the community, the beginnings of your world in community. How did you get involved? What got you started in the world of the Power Platform community?
Like most things in my life, it wasn't deliberate. Um, I it was lockdown. Lockdown. So I kind of worked in the biz app space anyway with a Microsoft partner or a couple of Microsoft partners, and knew about Dynamics 365. Never heard of Power Platform, but when we got locked down and we all went home, I was given the option to furlough, but it's kind of not how I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing that. I wanted to fight our way through it, if you like. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I went to webinars and listened to other people talking because I didn't have much work to do. And someone suggested like roundtables, getting people together, and I really liked that idea. It wasn't anything I'd ever done before. Um, and yeah, I knew people in RPA. I worked with Blue Prism, and so we did an event together. And there was about 6 people on
Cool.
the event, all from different organisations around the Manchester area that were rolling out RPA. And um, with those end users rolling that technology out, there tends to be one person internally responsible. So it was quite a lonely place for them. And I realised that everybody was making friends during lockdown, but also this really benefited their jobs. So everyone took a turn. Every time we did an event, it got bigger and bigger and busier. And we talked about UiPath and Automation Anywhere and the different RPA tools. And
Mhm.
somewhere about, I think, 6 months in, someone mentioned Power Automate, and it was almost like frowned upon by the proper RPA
Really?
techies. Yeah. But then it kind of opened up this Power Platform world, and then I realised that had something to do with Dynamics, and then I realised there was this whole community of people who do this sort of stuff
Mm.
already, that I didn't know about, and I didn't know what an MVP was or anything. So, yeah, started connecting with more and more people in the Microsoft community.
Cool.
Ran those for about 4 years, I think.
Wow.
Made a lot of friends. Yeah, it
Yeah.
must be 4 years because it was lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2020. Um, Made a lot of friends, a lot of really good friends. And yeah, I don't do those particular events anymore. They were quite associated with the company that I worked with,
Mm.
who did support me in giving me the time and the marketing branding around it as well.
Mhm.
But I kind of wanted to do something a bit more independent, which is where the newest kind of version of that is now, the high fives.
Yeah. This is I one of the things I like to do on this, I don't like to delve into it. I don't do research, so I don't read up on everyone, and so it's basically what I know of the person is from talking to them. So I've spoken to you a few times now,
Uh-huh.
and I had no idea that was the background you had in terms of you already had events that you ran beforehand. Like the high five came out of nowhere as far as I could tell, and then it was just successful. Evidently,
Mhm.
there's history there. There's
Yeah.
experience. So no wonder it's been doing so well. So talk a little bit more about the high five because I've already had Keith on in the past. So tell me a bit more about
Yes.
how that came
Same
about. And
Keith. Yeah. Well, Keith and I have been friends for a few years now. We met. I can't remember how the conversation came up, but we met on Teams and we talked for an hour about music. It wasn't to
oh,
do
nice.
with like recruitment or community or anything. Um, but we hit it off. We got on really well from the start, and I was running the virtual roundtables at the time, so Keith was interested in getting involved in those as a speaker. And we were talking about recruitment stuff. This is 2 jobs ago, I think, for Keith. So, but yeah, it was mostly music, and yeah, we got on. He came and spoke on a few different VRT sessions, and we met, or just after he got his MVP award. I was up in Edinburgh with family. And I was like, I can't go to Edinburgh and not meet up with Keith. And Stuart Baxter had got his MVP at the same time. So yeah, it was a funny mismatch of MVPs and family in Edinburgh. And then yeah, we carried on. We started talking last year about wanting to do something more independent that we had control of. Purely community focused, not connected to any job or anything, but within the same sort of theme of an online session that can be attended and spoken at by global people.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of on our terms, when we want to do it and how often we want to do it. And so yeah, so we were talking about that last year, but I think through October there was like Scottish Summit, there was loads of events we were both working on. I heard him talk to you about this. We were working our notice periods, and then had garden leave in December. So we managed to meet up and just kind of thrash out what we wanted to do. And we kind of, what works nicely is we've both got different skills. So whereas I've kind of got that cheerlead, the social media side of it, I suppose, that I've done already, and making a noise and keeping an eye on that. I'll kind of, in fact, I sent him a message last week. I was like, we, brackets, you, need to set up these Teams links for the upcoming events. I made a cool carousel to go on, because people have been asking us, how can we keep up to date with what's coming up? So we've just put it all in one post now on a carousel, and you can sign up to whatever events you want.
That's a really good idea.
Year. Yeah, it's worked quite well, because I didn't know how we could do it so that people could just sign up. And so we're booked till November. I'm not sure if we'll do one in December. We might just try and get people together for drinks instead. But there's just a list of links now at the top of our LinkedIn page. So he's good at that sort of stuff. It'd take me ages, and so it doesn't make sense for me to battle my way around that. But he can do it and do it in his time that he's got allocated for it, and then I'll go and kind of line up, not all the speakers, but I keep an eye on the speaker schedule, keep in touch with them, make sure we're posting about things, and keeping the noise going so that people are signing up to the event. So it's quite a good little team that we've got going.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So I've talked to people before about community, and one of the most important things about community is having different personalities, because you need the people that are out there wanting to speak. You need the people that are out there wanting to consume the knowledge. You need all of the different types of people to make a community work. If everyone was just type A, stand on stage talking, you'd never have an event, because it would just be a nightmare. So you kind of need the mix. So you seem to have a perfect mix for running a user group, which is fantastic. I was actually listening to Lucy Bourne on the Neil Benson podcast earlier today, and she was talking about running a partnership, like the Microsoft partner side of things, because that's what she works with. And she was saying that you need to have someone that is analytical and wants to do that kind of detail-orientated work to maintain your partner center program, because there's a whole bunch of tick boxes and admin and rubbish around that if you're not into admin, you're gonna hate it. So you need someone to do that, and then you can have someone else doing more of the going out and speaking and selling and doing the connecting. And so it works in a partner world. It's the same thing here. It's pretty much exactly what you've described.
Yeah, I do. I think we've got different personalities in that way, and I know I can just send him a WhatsApp. It's usually like accompanied with some Mariah Carey gif accusing him of being a diva or something. But I can just throw an idea at him on WhatsApp at 10 o'clock on Friday night, and I know that's gone on a list somewhere, and he'll do it. and it's kind of it just works quite nicely.
Nice.
And so I'll go into our spreadsheet, and he's done something that looks really smart. It's so smart, this spreadsheet. It's just really tidy. I'm so messy with things like that. It's just admin is not where my skills lie. So if I go in and then I'll see you might have fixed something that I've broken or made it look a bit nicer. Yeah, no, I'd definitely say that the skills complement each other. And the other thing is we'll just be totally honest with each other as well. You know, if we're both busy, Keith's at conferences and busy on projects and stuff, and if we're just busy, we'll just call it, can you pick up a little bit more this week? Because I'm out. That works too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they say. It's funny. I mean, what you've got is a relationship. I know it's not that kind. It's a partnership. It's a friendship. But one of the most important things in any relationship is communication.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you've got there, and it's going well. That's brilliant. That's good to hear. Because
Yeah.
again, talking to other people that have run user groups, that's one of the hardest things is having the support to keep going. Because doing it on your own is just nigh on impossible to keep it going. You could do a few, but to keep something going is really hard long term, because that moment when you're down and you still have to get all that stuff done, you still have to get the media posts out, you have to drum up supports, you have to get the next speakers for the next event. It's hard unless you've got someone with you.
I think you have to love what you do. I think you have to believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it, and do it with someone that you trust. And, you know, again, in any kind of relationship, that's true for it to be successful. And, you know, Keith and I trust each other. We're honest with each other. We'll get. It's obviously, it's usually quite banter as if there's something that we want to change or fix. And he was, oh God, I remember saying to him, we'd just come out of Spug, and he'd gone in and added some speakers on the schedule, and that was my job. And I was like, don't take my job. But, you know, he listened, but we talked, and it's fine. He's allowed to invite speakers to the list as well. But it's funny, of course, we had a conversation about it then, but it was in a jokey way, and we sort of talked about, who we wanted to come on. We don't really have like a sessionize or like go through reviews. We've got people that approach us, or we'll see a session that we really like somewhere else and we'll approach those people. Franco and Sean have been doing conferences all over with their Copilot and Power Pages sessions. So we've asked them, at the end of all, after Vegas, can you come and do it on High Five? So the people who haven't been at the conferences can come and see it.
Yeah.
Because it must be good. It's been, I've seen it now, but it's been accepted by so many different conferences. There's something there, so let's get it on.
I mean,
So.
that's a power duo right there. I mean, that's going to be entertainment personified. So I look forward to trying to see that one in November. Then if you're going to roll it out after the October events, then at that point even it'll be so polished.
Yeah, it's good. I got a snippet. They did like a sort of mini version, a 45-minute version at Dynamics Minds, and it was it was good fun. They're both characters, aren't they? So yeah, looking forward to that one. So yes, we'll invite people in, but then likewise we'll have people that'll approach us and ask if they can share something. And it's really open, it's really inclusive. We really keep an eye on diversity, and we make sure that there's a good balance in there as well. It does seem to be men that are more open to approaching than women. It's just how it is. It's the same in my job as well. Us women need a little bit more encouraging. Some, not all, but some. So yeah, we try and make sure that we're fair.
That's interesting. So we've not driven into that topic, let's say, for,
Let's go for it.
I'm intrigued. So how do you solve it? What do you think is the way forward there? Do you think it is? So there's a few different thoughts that I've seen people do different ways. So you've got proportional representation concept, where you basically you have to say that a certain number of people are at senior levels. And that way, the idea being that you see women in that role, it becomes something you could do. So that's sort of one to bring people in. But then there's the other way of you need to try and support them from a very early age to try and see that there's other ways to do things. I don't know. It's difficult because I'm a middle-aged white guy. I'm in the bracket of it's easy for me, but I don't see it any other way. It's so hard for me to understand, because I will go and ask. I will literally send messages to people and just be like, oh, you don't know me, but I'm really interested in your company. Can I get a job? Or
Mhm.
I don't really know you, but I've been watching your stuff. Come talk to me on my podcast. So
Yeah.
it's
And I'm
easy
a
for
bit
me.
more like that, but I'm an extroverted salesperson.
Mm,
So for me, it's not intimidating going and speaking to new people, and
mm,
I find it fascinating actually learning about people and what drives them, what motivates them, what their background is. Like I love all of that.
yeah.
So, stories. I love a story. So it's different for me. But then I noticed through the online events that I did previously, there are some, Angelique Key will just go, "Hey, I've got a session. When can I do it?" There's people. Claire Edgson's another one. There are people and Sharon as well, Sharon Smith.
Hmm.
Um, there are others that might surprise you that kind of waited for me to get a bit more friendly or a bit more chatty on my messages, and they've talked me through the process of, oh, okay, you asked me how I was that day, so then I came back, and
All
so it was
right.
this slower process of building that relationship and becoming really good friends at the end of it, and that really interested me. So I started asking more questions around it, both to women that I was working with as candidates and to women in the community.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, there are some great things like the Women in Power platform and program that is a mentoring program where women can be mentored. Keith's on that.
Hmm.
I think he's kind of leading or some sort of leadership role in this current cohort. Um, but yeah, that's a female focused mentoring program. So there are things like that to help women and encourage. And there are, Danielle Moon and Sharon Smith and people that are promoting people, asking them to, suggesting that they maybe speak and do more stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's important to see women or anybody who looks like you. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
woman. It can be any sort of familiar person doing something that you might aspire to do. And I think there's people that um, there are different stages, aren't there? There's your Angie's who's like, yeah, well, I'm there, I'll do it. I'll stay up till 4 in the morning and write a new session. You will get that sort of person. And you'll get someone, Shameen Munshi, who's become a friend over the last 12 months, who did the 90-day mentoring challenge. And I want to start speaking. And every time I saw her, I was like, come on, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And then she did it and she was brilliant. And everyone was so made up for her. She got
Nice.
such great feedback. And she was really, really buzzing at the end of it as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, we'll see more from her. She's brilliant, but that just took longer to get to the comfort, or still outside of a comfort zone, but where she felt comfortable. And it was a safe space for her to do it. It
Yeah.
was me and Keith, we were there. Everybody wanted it to go well, and it really did. So yeah, and she's done it, and now she's set an example for somebody else who might be Shamim 12 months ago,
Yeah.
who can go, oh, okay, yeah, I want to get there in 12 months' time. So I think we've all got a responsibility to make that safe for people and to let people see.
Hmm. That's sorry. That just gave me an idea of some. I would love to do more around that space of actually talking to people about their journey to there. I mean, part of this is that. I mean, it's how have you got into the community and getting to feel a person out in terms of what they like about the community and things like that. But so far, a lot of people I've spoken to have been people that are well known in the community. So I need to reach out and get a few more people that are maybe new to the community, because I think that would be an interesting perspective of, well, how did you
Mm-hmm.
get into it at this stage? Because this is early. How are you finding it? How would other people do that, that want to follow in your footsteps? Yeah, that's interesting. I have to do that.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. It'd be good to get those
Yeah, because
that some more new faces through.
yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, so running a user group and doing the events that you've done before, you've been looking at trying to get people to speak for a long time. So you will have thought a bunch about this. How do you get them in there? So I'm interested to delve a little bit more into that. Certainly from my limited experience to date, I have been involved in trying to get people to do more speaking that maybe haven't in the past or want to. And if I think about it, if you see someone at a conference or if you see someone on a virtual event, you don't know the history. You don't know how they got there. You don't know how nervous they are. You don't even know if this is the first time they've done it. unless they actually say it on that presentation, which who's going to? So I suppose unless you call it out, then someone that's sitting there watching this person goes, wow, they're amazing, not knowing at all that's the first time and it took them 3 months of cajoling to get to that point just to get the confidence up. Yeah, that's an interesting
Yeah,
thought.
and some of the most high-profile people that we see speaking feel like imposters or get really nervous and hate doing it. It's scary and it gets easier. We were talking before we came on air, weren't we, about the nerves the first time, and then the next time it's not quite so nerve-wracking, and then you might just have a day where you're more nervous than others, just because. So, but I think it's all sort of self-growth, and I think it's really good to challenge yourself and push yourself. But it's just asking those like open questions, isn't it? Because people won't always tell you. They might. Do you know what I've found actually over the years is you'll see people, the same person will pop up liking things a bit more. You might just see someone like in the periphery just appear, and then you kind of, oh, okay, so, and you can start a conversation with that person.
That's really interesting. It's funny you say that because that's exactly what I've noticed around this. There's been a few more posts. I've been doing a bit more around my other streaming that I do on a Thursday as well. And there have been a few names that have popped up a few times. So you definitely notice when people start to notice what you're doing and following. I hadn't thought of that as maybe they want to engage to be involved. I'd thought of it as, oh, they're supporting. That's great. But yeah, no, that's a good point. I need to reach out and just be like, I see you're following. I see you're interested. Do you want to join? I mean, why not?
Yeah, or even just what do you get out of it? Just for your own feedback. I encourage people all the time when I do these things to feedback, and people are always asking for it. So, you can ask those. I've seen you've liked my stuff. What did you like about it? Is there anything you'd like to see differently? Do you want to get involved? And see what it is that they're after. Because some people will be like, oh no, I don't want to get involved.
No, that's
you don't scare them off.
I've reached out to a couple of people, and they've been, and that there was at least one of them. I thought absolutely he'd be great for it. He'd love to come on, no problem whatsoever. Sent messages, and I was like, "You want to?" And he just said no. But the way he said it, I thought he was joking, like just because there's a bit of banter going on anyway. And he said no, and I was like, "Oh, go on. It's a timing thing, isn't it?" No, there's other people. Go get them. It's like, oh, right, you really just don't want to do it. Okay, that's fair.
I had the same thing with somebody that I got quite friendly with at Dynamics Minds, and we were chatting on LinkedIn afterwards, and I said, "Oh, do you want to come on Misfits, which is my podcast?" I said, "No, I hate podcasts." I went, "Oh, okay, fine, that's absolutely fine." And we just carried on talking about stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, isn't it? You can't please everyone, so you can't take that kind of stuff personally. If anyone ever said that, like my gut feel, if someone said that, I would be like, oh, well, I like podcasts.
No,
maybe
it's not personal.
Yeah.
And you said before about how many different characters there are in this community. There's so many different personalities. There's a lot of neurodiversity, and it's fine. That's what's so good about it. It's okay to be different to everybody. It's okay to just be, me on my own, do my own thing. And the whole, the main majority of the people I've met are really accepting and inclusive of all sorts of different personalities. So if you just want to be blunt and say no, it's better than feeling obliged and saying yes, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing. I think it's good for people to be honest and open with how they actually feel. I'd much rather that than they skirted around or just said, oh yeah, that sounds like a good thing. Because then you might go back to them later and be like, so you said it might be a good thing. Do you want to do it? And then they just keep going, no. Maybe later, maybe. I'd rather they just simply say, no, I just don't want to do it. I don't have an interest in that. It's much cleaner and easier. But again, everyone is different. So it's, for me as someone chasing a speaker, bad word, asking a speaker, I need to be more open to how they're responding. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Cool. So I want to go back to, so you've done the virtual roundtable in the past. You're doing the high five now. You're also doing this podcast. Tell me a little bit about the podcast.
Yeah. So Misfits is a podcast that I host alongside Sophia Fricker, who is head of marketing at Synapse. Um, we met at Scottish Summit last year. I think Rory introduced us on the dance floor and we just hit it off straight away. She was just so full of energy, so happy to be there. Um, and we just, yeah, we got quite good friends quite quickly, and she wanted to do more community stuff. So, when someone's got a big personality like that, it just seemed obvious to do a podcast, which I actually was really nervous about. But it's been so enjoyable to
Mm.
do. So we've interviewed a few women now. So it is, Sophia and I, we're not architects, we're not technical, we can't go into a deep dive on anything like that, but we are working mums in this space,
Yeah.
and we kind of connected over that and talking about how amazing some of the women are that are around us, and why don't we just talk to them? And what's been nice, I think, because we're not technical, is that we go through different topics with these women.
Hmm.
We talk about their career and their background. We might talk about their kids. They might not have kids. We might talk about the support that they're offering to other women in the community.
Yeah.
It's often ended up talking about AI, which has been really interesting. Um, but yeah, it's been really nice, like really refreshing to learn things about people. Some of them I've known for a long time, others I haven't, and we've just learned new stuff. So I think it's been fun for us. We have a giggle doing it. We've made some really good friends, from the other side of the world through doing it. And yeah, it was an absolute treat. I met Meg Smith through Nathan. I know Keith mentioned that he's been on High Fives with us before,
Hmm.
and again we just hit it off. We saw each other in Slovenia, and missed Sophia because she wasn't there. But yeah, it's like we've got a friend from New Zealand who is amazing, and I know we'll always be friends, and we kind of hit it off over doing Misfits, and she's been on High Fives as well. She's brilliant.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just been really nice. It's just there for, again, for women who might wonder what AI means for them.
Hmm.
There's a few conversations that we've had that might really be worthwhile for people to listen to if they're wondering how AI will affect them.
Hmm.
If they're wondering, do I have a place to talk about this? It is what I think, right? And you can listen to women and people that look like and it's that thing again. It's kind of just seeing familiar personalities, struggles, parenting or whatever it
Hmm.
is. I know you're a parent,
Hmm.
and fitting these things in, at this time of night after the kids are in bed,
Yep.
it's a struggle. And so I just think it's nice to have somewhere where you're free to talk about that
Hmm.
or whatever you want, really.
I think
Um,
that's important. I think that I've heard this before with people when they're interested in getting involved in community in some way, but they don't know how, or they say there's already someone, insert name here, doing what I would talk about, or I don't know what I would talk about because there's already so much out there. Why would anyone listen to me? I think the point is that it's your perspective, and that's the important part. It's getting involved puts your perspective across. It may be that you're talking about similar content to other people, but the way that you're talking about it, how you're talking about it, how you're thinking about it, your experiences that have brought you to that point are what inform what you do and how you interact with other people. So I think it's important, if you do have anything to say, do it. Like, it's never been easier. In my view, it's never been easier to be able to do this. Whether it is go to a local user group, there's so many in the UK now, whether it's going to a conference, even just to go and connect with other people, and then from there, do speaking if that's what you want to do. Blogging is still a thing. I know that people say blogging's dead in some ways. I don't think it is. I think if you ever want to actually write things down, it's still one of the best mediums to do it. Um, Even LinkedIn, you've got the ability to share things in posts, newsletters now with LinkedIn, Substack. There's so many. I suppose in some ways that's where it's hard. There are too
there's
many
yeah,
options
there's
now.
there's two ways of looking at that. There is an awful lot of content out
Yeah.
there, and people might think that it's saturated, but people find someone that they want to follow, and it might be someone that they relate to. It might be someone that they've met at a conference or someone that they've kind of been watching for a while. Um, you're not going to win everybody. You might just win one person. You might just do it for your own benefit, and if you are writing blogs, chances are now they're going to come up somewhere. ChatGPT might bring your blog up to somebody who's never heard of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a place, and I think a lot of people find it therapeutic. They enjoy doing it for themselves. I think if you're doing it for the numbers and the followers, I think you're always going to be disappointed. There's always going to be somebody who's got more followers than you.
Yeah.
So you have to really do it for yourself and for the enjoyment. And coming back to high fives, the reason we've called it high fives, it was Franco came up with that name after Keith. Franco and I did a session at Scottish Summit, and we came out of the room and everyone was high-fiving each other in the corridor. And Franco was like, that'd be such a good name for your user group. This is what it's all about, just high-fiving each other for doing a good job. And so we went for it because we thought, yeah, that is what it's about. It's not about how big your room was. It's that there were people showing up, or we showed up. We had a good time. Could have been an empty room. We had a laugh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you think about it from that point of view, you should be able to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, find something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that when I do get to speak and when I do presentations, the thing that I get out of it is I like the idea of at least someone in the audience taking at least something useful out of it. Like that's what makes me want to do it. But the other side, because I'm doing technical content, a lot of it helps me, because if I can, then that's what they say, if you can teach a topic, then you will be better at the topic. So for me to be able to present on something, I need to know enough about it to be able to present about it. So I need to have spent the time to really delve into it. Now, I don't need to go to a crazy level, because it's not like a degree course or anything. It's not the sort of stuff I do, but at least enough that I can present that knowledge to someone. So my first presentation I ever did was 10 things I learned from implementing Power Pages. Actually, it wasn't Power Pages. It was back when ADX had just been bought. So it was the Power Portal, or whatever they called it. That I've already forgotten. It was so long ago. But I literally just spent the year before that implementing a project with it. It was brand new technology. No one had really used it in the Microsoft world, because, ADX had existed and obviously it had been bought, but it wasn't the Portals product that Microsoft had provided. So that was new. So the presentation I did was at Scottish Summit, and it was just the 10 things I learned. Simple content in some ways. But I had a few people afterwards come up to me and say, that was really, really useful. We're looking at a Portals project at the moment, and like tip 5, now we know to look out for that. That's really useful. And that just made my day.
You had no way of knowing that beforehand.
No, it was just me sharing my experiences and saying, look, this is over the last year, I've loved this thing in many different ways, but there's definitely some pain points, and this is what you need to think about. And I think that's always powerful content, I think, for anyone, is sharing your experiences, because other people will be in that position. I think what you have to always think about, the world is a large place. And yes, the Power Pages world is a smaller part within that big world, but there's still a lot of them. There's a lot of people in the world that use Power Pages, Power Platform, all of the Microsoft products. So even if you can connect with one person out there and share something interesting, you never know where that goes. That's how I take it. I see it.
I agree. And I think, the conferences are a great place to share, but there's a lot of people submit sessions.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to be accepted. So I think going to your local user groups where you've got, a different audience is a good way to start out. Doing it on your own terms, I quite like that. I don't like rules. I'm always saying to Will, last time I mentioned Will on a podcast, I got grief for ages about it. But I'll say, like, don't give me rules, like, you bring out the mischief. And I'm like, I want to do things on my terms. I like doing my own thing. And if no one comes, fine, I won't do it anymore. But they do at the minute, and it's not doing it by somebody else's terms. So if you've got your own, you wanted to do this way, live stream rather than a podcast, and it's great, it's different, it suits you. So yeah, do your own thing. to suit your own personality is the best way, I think. And someone will get something out of it. It might not be what you think they're going to get out of it, but someone will get something out of it. And it might not be immediate either. It might be someone that finds it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why with, like Misfits, we don't like market the hell out of it because we're busy, especially Sophia. She's got two really young children, a really busy job in a startup business. So
Jeez.
like, yeah, like her balance is more important than us marketing this and getting this big. But the content will always be there.
Yeah.
And someone might find something in 6 months or a year's time and go, oh, wow, I found this content I didn't know was there. So we're doing it because we believe in it.
Cool. No, that's
my
good.
advice.
I love it. I'm interested. So you mentioned kids there. Obviously, I mean, I've got one little kid. You can't see it on the actual stream here, but Father's Day was at the weekend, and he surprised me with a card that he made. It was brilliant. Because my wife helped to get him sort of to do that, but the actual card was absolutely him. Like he's drawn something that has come from him, and I love that. And you mentioned before that's certainly one of the reasons why this is as late as it is, because everyone in the house is asleep at this point. So it allows me to do what I do at this time. So outside of the world of Power Platform, what's your passion? What do you? I mean, for me, it's definitely my son at the moment. What about yourself?
Yeah, good question because that's sort of changed a little bit with, my daughter's 13 now. So since she's just come to the end of year 8, since probably the start of year 7, maybe even the school holidays before that, this new freedom came out in her where I was a little bit not needed as much. So, obviously the usual meals, lifts, money,
Yeah.
but less so. And I think, that's kind of given me a bit more freedom with the community stuff because, my friends have no idea what I'm going on about when I talk about it. So, there's been a little bit more travel for that. But I've got a big family. I've got a lot of friends. And yeah, I've been doing a lot more travel in general, really, this year. So yeah, nothing particularly interesting. I wouldn't say I've got like a proper hobby or anything, but yeah, my nana is going to be 89 in
Oh, wow.
August. You wouldn't know it to look at her. She's glamorous.
That's good genes.
But yeah, she looks good. And she likes going out for lunch and a glass of wine and or parties. She'll come around here sometimes for a barbecue or whatever. So spend a bit of time with her. And yeah, my friends as well. I've got my own non-community friends, like I say. So I spend a lot of time with those. So yeah, nothing particularly interesting, I don't think.
It's interesting. You've mentioned numerous times that it's come up a lot. The sort of friends, connections, talking to people. So I think that's what you do. That's what you enjoy is people. So you're traveling to events to meet people. You're at home. You've got people coming around. You are connecting with people. So your hobby is just people. It's great.
Oh, I'm like Mama Bear. So yeah, I love feeding people. I've got one friend, Fiona, who like she comes here. I do the food, she does the cocktails, and like she's brilliant at the. But yeah, I'm a bit of a feeder. I feed Nana. I do her like Meals on Wheels. Love having family around. Family is really important to me. And I don't think I could do a proper job. I think, like I'm really interested in people. I like joining dots and making connections and learning what makes people tick. I think it comes back to, I mean, even my first job in recruitment was about 20 years ago, and that was in industrial, and I was learning how things were made. And even that I found fascinating, going around factories and warehouses and understanding how the dots joined in these places. That was really interesting to me, and I definitely get that with people. But But yeah, I don't know if I could concentrate long enough to be a developer or do what you guys do.
You don't need to. You're doing a
I'm just glad
fantastic
they've
job. And what?
accepted me.
Yeah, the thing is, you found your passion. You found what you do, and it's amazing because that's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, recruitment. A big part of recruitment is exactly what you've just described. It's connecting people. It's getting to know someone well enough to be able to place them somewhere. So you kind of need to get to know both sides. You need to understand the requirement and you need to understand the person to connect the dots. If you're doing it in a way that's human centric, let's say, because
Yeah.
some recruitment is not like that. It's just about the numbers. So I don't get that impression from you at all. Anyone in the recruitment space that's actually involved in community realistically, at least in the way that you are, and certainly Alison, I've known in the past as well, and a similar sort of world, then you're doing it from what I like to
Sounds
think
like
the
my
good way.
mama bear. If I'm having a wobble, Alison, are you free? Um, but yeah, it is. It's something that I care. I do care about people. There are things that I see changing, which I don't necessarily like, where um, people who aren't recruiters get involved in recruiting, and I know it's a money saving thing from the Microsoft partners, try and not pay recruitment fees, which is fine. I understand it if it's right for the person. But I do see people moving that haven't been qualified, as in, so you'll get an initial interview with somebody, and that'll be, okay, what can you do? What are your technical skills? What projects have you worked on? Are they finding out about the rest of that person's needs? Does this fit with them, with the working style that they need, the support that they need around them from management, anything personally that they might need support with. I mentioned before, there's a lot of neurodiversity. Are they going into a company that supports that? And actually, I'm hearing more recently that people are moving jobs because their friends have referred them or because they've been headhunted. And has anyone actually qualified the candidate, as in, what do you want? And that's something I feel really strongly about. And I think that representation is getting less and less. I know that Irfan, who is also a recruiter in this space, is very empathetic and really cares about the people that he works with too. So I'm certainly not saying that this is just a me thing, but it's a thing that I do feel quite passionately about, that it maybe is changing a bit, and that human centric, are we just filling a role, are we filling a requirement because we need another person on this project, or is the candidate really being considered and looked after as their career move as well? Not sure.
That's really interesting. That to me that's fascinating. I'd love to delve more into it. But I think if I did that, it would probably take another 2 or 3 hours. I could definitely, because I've changed jobs in the last 12 years. I've changed jobs, I think 6 times. So I'm very familiar with working with recruiters, but also going direct and various different ways of getting jobs. So I think, like many, I've had interesting experience with recruiters in the past, both good and bad. Going direct to companies as well. I've done that in the past where I thought one thing and turned out something else happened.
Yes, this is it. And you'll get that from recruiters, right? And it's true that there's money involved. A recruiter will probably want to at least double their basic salary to kind of to have the lifestyle that they want. That's kind of minimum, really. And so getting the fees in from placing people is important to keep a business running and to keep yourself in a job. But there are ways of doing that. And I spoke to somebody last week who'd been offered a role, and the recruiter's really keen, the recruiter's really pushy. And I was like, forget that. Forget about the recruiter being pushy. The business model is what it is, and it's not your problem. So, you go back to your motivations and what you want, not what this recruiter wants you to do. And actually, the recruiter's done a good job in the first place. They won't be steering you towards something so hard, because it should be a no-brainer. And it should be a calm process. And if you're thinking longer term, these things come full circle. I was talking to someone today who I got an offer for about 4 or 5 years ago at Microsoft Partner. They turned it down. It was fine. We've stayed friends. We've crossed paths, touched base. Not really anything has come of it until, the last few weeks. And now he's a hiring manager and needs people, but that relationship has remained strong and supportive
Yeah.
through that time. And that's because I wasn't an arsehole recruiter who was trying to shove him into a job for a fee.
Yeah.
you know, and that's the difference. It's the longer game, really.
Yeah.
I'm making it enjoyable. I want to. I'm an age now where I want to enjoy what I'm doing every day. I want to, it's more important to be having an enjoyable experience.
It's actually just on that point. We'll get into rapid fire questions in a moment to finish off. This has been a
Ooh.
fascinating chat. I love one of the things I do in my spare time. I watch a lot of videos and interviews around TV production, movie production. I love that world. There's just something magical about it. And so I found on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of these round tables. It's funny when you mentioned the round tables earlier. They do these round tables with lots of different, it could be directors, it could be writers, it could be actors. And it's just interesting listening to them talk about their experiences and how they got there and why they do it. And just all that sort of inside baseball kind of chat of how is everything made. I find that really fascinating. But it's interesting what you just said, that idea of as you're of an age now that you are wanting to enjoy things, you've got to a point where that's your priority. That's exactly what someone was actually saying on there, is that basically she loves a complex role, because in the world of acting, a complex role is one of the harder things to do, but it's enjoyable. So everything she does when she's on set is hard in terms of it's challenging. She wants it to be challenging, but intentionally everything out of there in her personal life, she wants to keep simple. And that's what she's learned with age, is she understands herself better to the point that in that space, she goes after hard things because that's what she knows she enjoys. But she also wants to take none of that home. At home, she wants to keep it very, very simple. And so when she's at home, she's at home. I think there's a lot to be
And I
said for
think
that.
there is, and I think it's an important point when if you come back to the Microsoft community and people newly coming into it. Actually, when I first started talking to everybody, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that, I was doing it all night, like constantly. I
Yeah.
was doing Teams calls in the evenings, like getting to know people and just saying yes to everything,
Yeah.
and constantly like messaging. And my friends are like, "What are you doing?" And they just think I'm working. They don't see the difference,
Yeah.
which I understand. And it got a bit much, and I got burnt out, and I don't see that at the time. I get to a point where I'm overflowing and it's too much, and then I can see it. I'll
Yeah.
see a recording of an event, and I'm like, oh, you look like you need to sleep, love, and so we kind of I'll see that in myself, and I learned that balance, and I think you in your personal life you learn balance, but then. I'm not where it's me, but I've been a single mum financially at least for the last 12 years. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean, that's not to say my daughter doesn't have a dad. She does, and he's a good dad. But I've on a household, so work has been important. It's had to be.
Yeah.
But if work gets too much, I kind of just remember this realization of like my personal life and my being a mom and my work has to balance out. And if one thing's out, everything else goes out. So I've kind of learned how to manage that, keep an eye on it, and say, like instead of trying to cover it up and pretend I'm brave and it's okay, it'll be okay, I'll kind of sort of say, no, I need to put the stoppers on something or reset and really honestly kind of step back from something if I need to.
Yeah.
And I think that with the Microsoft community, because that was just tipping in a whole load of other stuff on top of everything I already had.
Yeah.
It was something that I loved and I wanted to continue with, but it was something that really needed managing to balance with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody here trying to get involved in the community and then all of a sudden get overwhelmed, it's fine to just stop for a bit or tone it down a bit.
I think that's a really important message, and it's definitely something to put out there. Not everyone's a Chris Huntingford. Love the man, but my God, that he's on a different
Machine.
level. And I think that's important when you are dipping your toes into the community. You're reading blogs, you're watching presentations, you're going to events, you're seeing these people, and you're like, I want to do that. And so you try and get involved and you do lots of stuff. And then you do get to a point where your bucket's too full. And you just
Yeah.
have to, it's important to learn that level where you can actually, where you yourself work. Because I've had the same.
Yeah.
I had that actually just a little bit after lockdown. I just got very involved during lockdown in community and virtual pubs and knowing people and just connecting. And it was exactly as you said. It was just I spent so much time in chats or meetings or just talking. I just lost track of myself almost. It was I just got so involved in everything that I just lost myself. And so I just had to stop. At that point I withdrew pretty much entirely for a few months just to exactly that reset to just kind of
Yeah.
feel normal.
Yeah, exactly. This is why we've set the cadence for higher fives like one a month. There is no cadence on Misfits. We're just like, we'll do it when we can. We'll do
Yeah.
it when we can fit in speakers and sorry, the guests, and the guests can make it. Because I'm also on Experts Live UK and the Manchester AI user group we just launched last month. And again, it was like I can do every 3 months. That's it. Because they're in person as well, so
Yeah.
there's more to it. But it was like that's what I can do, and that's it. And I really believe in those things and love them too. It's a shame I've not talked more about them. But yeah, it's kind of this is what I can offer, and that's it. And some weeks are busier than others.
I think that's a great point to end because that's exactly what I like on this. I like to keep it at the roughly 45 minutes. Takes a little bit longer when it's a really fascinating conversation. But I like to end it on a point of, well, there's a lot more we could talk about. That's part of the fun. So
Yeah.
I finish it with my rapid fire questions. So I'm going to throw those at you. And just first thing that comes to mind on each of them. So favorite Power
Nervous.
Platform service?
Oh, well, I'm going to go Pages for Franco.
Nice. Excellent. Favorite conference?
Dynamics Minds.
That's come up a few
Neck
times.
and neck with Scottish Summit changed my life, but Dynamics Minds is just beautiful.
Yeah, I have to get to that. Somehow I have to get to that. Maybe next year.
I texted Angie when I was there. I was like, I was associated with Angie because she did a virtual thing with me from Dynamics Minds a couple of years ago. I think it was the first one. And I was like, you didn't tell me how amazing it was. She had told me it was amazing, but it was amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one where the location makes it, and then the conference on top of it is just, yeah.
It was the detail, the level of detail, like absolutely everything was brilliant. The events in the evening, the organisation, the location, the food, the expo, just everything.
Nice.
Highly recommended.
Definitely have to make it there next year then. Last music you can remember listening to?
I went to see Robbie Williams a few nights ago.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. I went to see Robbie Williams.
Very cool. Very cool.
I listen to music all the time. I think the last thing, what did I have on? We had some music on having dinner earlier. Bandy stuff usually for me.
Oh, I thought bandy as in a band for a second, but as in like bands.
No.
Right.
Yeah. I like your kind of Oasis but anything back to Fleetwood Mac.
Nice. Cool.
Sort of stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. Podcasts or TV?
TV.
Cool.
I'm rewatching Stranger Things at the moment.
I have to. So I like I said, I love the production in TV, and so I watch a lot of TV and movies. I always have done. Worked in a cinema. I love it. Stranger Things was brilliant. When I first watched it, brilliant. But for some reason, it's one of those shows I stopped watching around about. I think I haven't seen any of the last season. And I think it's because there's just so much TV out there. I've been watching so many other things, and I just haven't got around to going back.
Yeah, I'll go like a week or two without watching any, and then I'll binge for a night. If I just need to switch off from people and phones and whatever, I'll just go and just get lost in something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stranger Things again.
Nice, very cool. If you had 2 hours with no other responsibility, what would you do?
Oh, either beach or cook. I just lock myself in the kitchen with a bit of music,
Nice.
glass of red wine, and just make a lasagna or something, just chop, make something taste nice.
Love it. Okay.
Depends on the weather. If it's sunny, the beach would probably win, or the garden.
Nice. Books or audiobooks?
Books.
Cool. Glass half full or glass half empty?
Oh, what do you think?
I'm going to say half full.
Yeah.
It's a funny. I love that question because I feel like people think there's a right and a wrong answer, and in some ways that is how you think of it. But I've had a few people on now that have said things that I didn't expect, and like one of them,
Really?
I can't remember who it was, and that's one of the problems I have is my memory's terrible. But someone said depends on what time of day. Sometimes it's half full, sometimes it's half empty. Someone else said there is no glass.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I don't know, but that's why it's the last question on the podcast.
I like to make the best of things. I've got a positive family around me. My granddad was just a source of positivity for us all, and yeah, it's just been the way we've been brought up is to be positive. We all have bad days, don't we? Certainly at the minute, there's a lot going on. And sometimes too much for my little brain can struggle and it'll kind of pop. But it tends to be just let's see the positive. So yeah, half full.
Wonderful. Well, this has been a really, really good chat. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I definitely look
Oh, me
forward
too.
to seeing you again in person, maybe at the next Spug when we can meet up. Certainly at South Coast. I'm sure you'll be there later on in the
Oh
year.
yeah, I've registered. Yeah, I've got my cabaret ticket and everything for that. So looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's certainly the first conference I'll be going back to in a while, so I certainly will see you there then.
Oh,
Excellent.
I'll see you there. Yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, especially considering the time of night as well. I'm quite awake now. I'm gonna have to chill for a bit before bed.
Again, a little inside baseball back behind the scenes. I find that I don't go to sleep till about midnight on the records
Because
because
you'll be up here now, won't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
just buzzing and just thinking, and then I end up watching something to kind of calm down. But then yeah, it's a whole thing. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
No, it's fine. Listen, I've got one day and then I'm off on holiday, so I'm going to treat myself to a little glass of Rioja, a bit of Stranger Things, and then
Nice, wonderful.
chill out.
Well,
Yeah.
enjoy that, and thanks again. And for everyone out there, thank you for joining us. Good
Thank you
night.
so much. Take care.